Hey, you cool cats and kittens. This is Comic Chat. I'm Bradley Comden, and I'm from the St. Joseph County Public Library System, and I work at the Western Branch.
And I'm Kara Pauley, and I also work for St. Joseph County Public Library at the Center Branch. And today we are going to tell you about some of our favorite teen comics that are out there. Of course, they can be enjoyed by adults as well. To start off with, we are going to start off with a DC comic. So let me just present my screen. Okay, and we are going to start with Super Sons. This is a comic, obviously, about a couple of superpowered teens, the son of Batman and the son of Superman. So it is by Peter J. Tomasi, illustrated by Jorge Jimenez and Alison Borges. And it's actually a spinoff from issue of a Superman comic in which Batman's son, Damian Wayne, who's 13, meets Superman's son, John Kent, who is 10. And they don't really get along, so their dad sends them to boot camp in order to figure out how to learn to work together. And then they started this spin-off series called Super Sons. So basically, Damian is way overconfident in his skills, and meanwhile, John is still developing some of his powers, such as the power of flight. He can leap tall buildings, but he can't really fly. And it begins because Damian's been grounded, so he has to sneak out. And he goes to John Kent's house in the middle of the night to convince him to help investigate some break-ins at Luthor Corp. And they find out that Kitamazo has been keeping his family hostage, so they try to stop him. And along the way, they argue a lot. So it's, about two boys who really don't have a lot in common, but they learn to work together. Right. Oh, our next one.
Our next one is Miss Marvel by G. Willow Wilson. Now, you've probably heard of Captain Marvel, who did the Captain Marvel movie and was in Avengers Endgame. Now, this comic is about a young girl who ends up taking up that mantle of Miss Marvel, and her name is Kamala Khan. Now, Kamala Khan is a young girl who dreams of being a superhero, as well as meshing better with American culture. She comes from the Muslim faith, and so there's a lot of differences between her and her classmates, and a lot of times she finds it hard to fit in due to a lot of the rules that she has with her family, which is very frustrating. But she is a huge nerd. She loves reading graphic novels, comics. She can kick your butt at any fighting, video game or MMORPG, and she still finds her way to interact with others in that fashion. Now, one night with her family, she wants to go out to a party with a lot of the other kids of her school. But her parents say no, so she gets angry, goes up to her room, and then sneaks out that night. Now, over at the party, she's finding that she's still not really fitting in too much with them. She thought others would think she was cool for her rebellious nature, but they kind of find it as an opportunity to take jabs at her family, since it seems like she was rebelling against them anyways. So she gets angry about this all and kind of goes and runs off in the middle of the night. But at the same time, this deep, thick fog descends upon the city, covering the entire area. This turns out this is called the Terrigen Mist. It is this kind of chemical formula that activates latent alien genes in people and gives them powers. And anybody who has this kind of latent gene in them is known as an inhuman. So, in the middle of the night, her powers activate. She falls unconscious, wakes up, and finds out that she has this power to she can change the shape of her body at will. She can grow bigger, smaller, change her appearance. And the change her appearance part, she wakes up looking just like the Carol Danvers Miss Marvel, which really spooks her because she starts thinking she turned to Miss Marvel. So as she goes on, she finds her way back home, and she's able to turn back into her normal body before her folks find out. And so this story is really cool because it covers her trying to balance her hero life with her home life, but then her home life as a whole, she's trying to balance her faith with the culture of the world around her. And this comic is absolutely fantastic for understanding the difficulties of someone who has their own personal familial culture, trying to mix it in with the culture in the world around them. And it really gives a really good look into the Muslim faith, because there's so many times you got these little quirky, funny moments to show that they're so similar to us, and they're just not too different. A lot like the superheroes of the world themselves.
Awesome. So it sounds like sneaking out is maybe a theme here.
Oh, absolutely.
Our next one is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. Now, this is an older one, but it's definitely, I think, a core classic for teens.
It's a gem.
Yes, it really is. So this is a story set up kind of like a superhero tale. It has heroes and villains, and they all refer to themselves as, oh, you're a hero and I'm a villain. And but the setting appears to be kind of medieval, but there's also a little bit of technology. So it's this sort of really nice blend of tropes. But this trope is turned on its head because the story features the villain as the main character. That's Ballister Blackheart. But then as the story progresses, we learn more and more secrets, and it continues to flip our expectations. Nothing is really as it seems. So the story begins with Nimona. She's a young girl who appears randomly at the villain's lair, at Ballister Blackheart's lair, and she says she wants to be his sidekick. At first, he's like, no, I don't need a sidekick, but then she shows him her shape-shifting abilities. So she's really enthusiastic and all in for the whole villainous, profession. But he's really methodical, and he's always talking about how they have to follow the rules, so they're kind of a fun match. Soon they learn that the institution, which is sort of the agency that is in charge of the heroes, that they've been developing a dangerous substance called Jada root. And it could really hurt the population as a whole. So Ballister kind of wants to oust them and to get people to know what the institution really is. So in that way, he almost becomes kind of like an anti-hero. And then we see, all of the other characters, kind of both sides of them. So I think that's what makes this story really, really interesting.
All right. Next up, we have the manga Naruto by Masashi Kishimoto. Naruto is one of those mangas I found early on as a kid. I found it in a manga book called Shonen Jump with a bunch of other ones in there, and I've loved it ever since. Naruto is about a young orphan boy who wishes to become the leader of his village, the Hokage, if you will. And the village is known as the Hidden Leaf Village. Now, Naruto lives in a world of ninjas. Basically, a number of people who are learning different techniques of ways of manipulating their chakra and their body to perform different things. You could perform, you could shoot fire. You could make clones of yourself made of the very shadows of the area. You could turn your body into making yourself look like a giant bear or a frog. Really, it seems like in this world, the sky is the limit. As long as you can manipulate your inner chakra in that fashion and way, you can do it. Now, Naruto himself is an outcast due to the fact that he doesn't seem to have much familial connection in the village, And also, it seems there's some sort of mysterious grudge the village has that they hold toward him. Now, Naruto doesn't allow this to bother him. He doubles down upon the outcast persona that he has taken on and becomes a huge prankster. He goes around the place pulling pranks on everybody. He even goes and defaces, they have these giant statues of the Hokage, much like Mount Rushmore, and he like defaces all of their like faces with like a bunch of paint and whatnot. He's just getting in trouble left and right. He even has like someone who's supposed to look out for him, make sure he doesn't get into trouble in the beginning. It's he's a really chaotic, jubilant child, despite the fact where it seems everybody doesn't seem to like him in the village. Now, eventually, Naruto joins the ninja academy of this town. And it's kind of like My Hero Academia in the way that instead of like when My Hero Academia has like superheroes, this one has ninjas, and the way that ninjas like hone their skills and arts to help defend their village. And he joins up with a young boy named Sasuke, a very cold and quiet, brooding young boy, and Sakura, a very impassioned young girl, as well as their leader Kakashi, who's a very cool and collected leader himself. And Naruto is one of my favorite manga because it's a very underdog story. It's perfect for teens in the sense that you see this kid who doesn't have much going for him. He's not the strongest, he's not the fastest, he's not the brightest, he's not incredibly skillful, but he uses his creative way of like looking outside the box to really benefit him and to, you know, become a fantastic ninja and to really, you know, like uplift those around him and kind of gain more friends, which is a highly effective thing for a teen to do. I know it was for me.
All right. Thank you, Brad.
You're welcome.
I will get our screen.
Oh, and by the way, to read Naruto, there's no chapters on Hoopla or Overdrive, but you can read the first 3 chapters for free at viz.com. And if you like it, viz.com has a subscription for $1.99 a month. We can read up to 100 chapters of manga a day, which I have it, and I haven't been able to read 100 chapters yet. So it's very worthwhile if you like this manga, as well as the many other chapters of manga you can find with that website.
Cool. Yeah, it does seem like it's a really good deal, especially if you're someone who has the time, who can read, who likes to read a lot. Cool. So I just want to remind everybody that you can access all of the comics on Hoopla, and then the manga obviously on viz.com. And that is all we have for you today. Hope everyone enjoyed. If you want to hear us talk about anything else in particular, make a comment. And happy reading, everybody.
Thank you so much, guys. You are rock stars. Take care.